Greetings from Gombedjachika. We are back with another video. The Sanzo case will resume, and one time is still understand. And Ubaloi is asking the same questions, hoping to get a different answer from one Tanz. But one Tanz maintains that he did not have his cell phone after the 16th of June 2020. So everything that you see as called records from that number, it was not done by Bongani. It was done by someone else. And Untanzi was emphatic when he said, the person that saw me when I put the phone patch in, it was my pen. So it is my pen that was phoning all those people that were mentioned in that telephone records. So now Ubalo will have a difficult time if Ntanzi just calls one of those people like Ulebo, then Ntanzi's girlfriend, to come and tell the court that, my lord, I did indeed receive a phone call from that number, but I did not speak to Bongani. I spoke to a Mapena or a different police officer. That will shut down the state case because Bongani would have proven that he did not have his phone after June 16, 2020. I'm not sure ukuthi yini ubaloya zama ukuyiprova by reading all those records after 2020, after 2014, because Senzomiyo was shot and unalived in 2014. So anything thereafter is irrelevant, especially the 2018, 19, 20, 2020. I think Ulona Ubalo is just trying to prove what Untanzi is lying about being at phosphorus or whatever. But discrediting Ubuntanzi will not move the state case any further, because Ntanzi has no duty to prove his case beyond reasonable doubt. Ntanzi needs to create reasonable doubt that his story is possibly true. Bongani Ntanzi has already mentioned that when he appeared in Boksburg for the first time, he raised his hand, trying to tell the court that the lawyer that is there, by Genova Chiako, is not his lawyer. He did not appoint him Chiako. He did not appoint him Chiako. And Tanzi asked a good question. He asked Balo Gucci, if you say Chiako was my lawyer, okay, then in prison, whenever a lawyer visits me, he signs off. Like Ramasapile, whenever he comes to consult with me, he signs, and there are documents to prove that he came to visit me. So the court or the state must produce the same records that relates to Mjiako's visit. If Mjiako did consult with Bongani, there will be record of his visit in prison cell or police cell or wherever. But there are none being shown at the stage because the state is clearly lying about Mjiako being Tanzi's appointed lawyer. Tanzi tried to raise his hand in Boksburg. Then the magistrate there said, no, you cannot speak, of which is highly unconstitutional, because as an accused, you have a right to speak in court, even if you have a lawyer. You must just refer to the case of Thabo Bester. Each time Thabo Bester comes to court, he always raises his hand, and the judge or the magistrate allows him to speak, even though there's a lawyer, because the law said an accused must speak. So in the case of Bongani, he was not allowed to speak in Boksburg. So on those bases alone, I think this whole case has been tainted. It is a miscarriage of justice that Ntanzi was not allowed to speak, to tell the court that this lawyer is bogus. This lawyer was not appointed by me. But because we are in South Africa, we live in a corrupt state, Ntanzi will not have a fair trial. And thereafter, this judge accepted those confessions, which were disputed by Ntanzi. Remember that Ntanzi had to do a second confession before Magistrate Tronye. Why would Ntanzi need to do a second confession if he already confessed? Clearly, the state forgot to include certain facts or certain lies in the first confession. So they had to do the second one in front of a magistrate so that that confession has some credibility. But the problem with the confession ka Cronje, it's that Mjiako was his lawyer, allegedly. But he said nothing. He said nothing. He never spoke and said, okay, yes, I am the lawyer of Ubongani Ntanzi, and yes, I agree with the content of this confession? Nothing. So uyabona ukuthi uMjiyako was clearly an agent sent by Gininda or the police allegedly just to confuse Ntanzi so that they can get that confession to implicate all 5 men before court. And Ntanzi also tells us that there was a 3 million offer that was brought to him by Mjiyako. So why would Mjiyako quick to tell Ntanzi about the offer of 3 million rand? Clearly, Mjiyako was sent there by the police because they wanted that confession quickly. So they had hoped that Ntanzi would accept 3 million since it is a lot of money. But Ntanzi turned down that offer, which is why he was then tortured into confessing for the first time and then being forced to go to Magistrate Cronje and to make that fake confession. But Ntanzi, I think he needs to do one thing here before his case is done. Once it's done testifying, I hope that he's going to bring some witnesses that are going to confirm his whereabouts. We need to know where was Ntanzi on the day that Senzo was shot. I'm sure there's someone, maybe his friend, family, or neighbor, that knows that Ntanzi was either in KZN, Rustenburg, or wherever on the day that Senzo was shot. Because uma ulesi alibi yenza sure ukuthi icala lakho liyaqina. So if Ntanzi can bring someone that can say, my lord, I saw Bonga Ntanzi in Nongoma or Emahlabathini on the 26th of October 2014, then it's clear that Ntanzi was not at the crime scene. Ntanzi would be cleared, and then this whole thing of a confession will fall apart, because if someone saw Ntanzi in, let's say, Mahlabathini, then it's clear that the confession was fabricated and coerced by the police. So Ntanzi needs to make sure that he gets one witness that will confirm his whereabouts. And also, he must also bring his then girlfriend, Ulebo, to confirm that he did indeed receive those calls when Ntanzi was in prison. But he did not speak to Ntanzi. He spoke to Mabena or someone else other than Ntanzi. That will debunk the story by Baloyi that Ntanzi had his cell phone in prison and he phoned his relatives and girlfriends. If Lebo says I was phoned by that number, but it was not Ntanzi, then the state case will fall apart. So one Ntanzi, I'm hoping that he can bring someone to try and debunk state lies. And then after, I hope what Officer Makubo is called to come and testify, because Makubo is the one that opened docket 275. He knows all the fabrications that were done by Gininda and the other policemen allegedly. Makubo opened docket 275 because he believed that the people that were in the house lied about everything that happened there. They lied when they said that they were intruders in the house. How so? Makubo did what we call a crime scene reconstruction and measured every corner and angle of the house and concluded that no one entered the house. And Makubo brought that docket to Baloyi, but Baloyi refused to charge those people in the house because Baloyi had his own agendas. And we know what is Baloyi's agendas: to find these 5 men before court guilty so that the state can say they've solved the case and tell the Mewe family that they've found justice for Senzo, whereas we know that the real killers are still in the street. So Makubo must come and tell the court. Remember that Makubo also opened a case against Gininda, a case for defeating the ends of justice. Remember that Makubo alleged that Brigadier Gininda stole the statement that was deposed by Umlungisi Hlophe. That statement was missing for about 4 or 5 years. It only came to light when Sifiso Meyi spoke about that statement in the media, and the police realized that no, let us just hand over the statement so that Sifiso Meyi can shut up. That statement is coming with Hlophe. It's where Hlophe says he received a phone call from Tumela Madlala and told him that Senzo Meyi had been shot by mistake at Tucholo Ulango Twale. That is the statement that's disappeared for about 4 years. So Makubo opened a case against Gininda for stealing that statement. So Makubo, if he tells that to the court, then the credibility of Brigadier Gininda will be brought into question, because Ubaba Osman Mzungu has already brought the credibility of Gininda into question when he said Gininda came to him and promised him a trip overseas and also promised him money if he testified against accused number 1. Those were the words of Absalom Zungu. So he was the first person to discredit Gininda. So I'm hoping that Makubo can come also discredit Gininda, because Gininda did not conduct this investigation in the manner that is expected of a policeman, allegedly. So after Makubo, I'm hoping that the defense can also call Joyce Buthelezi, because Buthelezi is the one that also worked on Docket 5 alongside with Makubo. So she knows very well yonke into elaphana kuma-docket ukuthi okay, what was done, nini kanjani. So those two will further boost the defense case. And thereafter, the, the defense is at liberty to call whoever they want. But from where I am, I believe that these 5 men before court are innocent because they were not there in Fostoras. Remember that the cell phone records of Kata Mncube says his cell phone pinged in Johannesburg CBD at about 7:30 or at the same time when Sendro was shot. Meaning that Gadla was not in Fostoras because he cannot be in two places at once, by which he's not the Holy Spirit. So I'm hoping that that evidence, cell phone record Gadla Mncube, is mentioned again during the closing argument, because if Gadla Mncube was not in Fostoras, then he could not have been in the house or at the crime scene because it was at Johannesburg CBD. So he cannot be a shooter. If God is not the shooter, then it means all of these guys were not there in the house, because that would have debunked the state theory of the intruder. And I believe that the defense has indeed created reasonable doubt. In court, the accused does not need to prove his innocence, but he needs to create reasonable doubt ukuthi his story is possibly true. Remember, in the case of Amatoso, the judge said, I do not believe you, Amatoso, that you are innocent. However, the state has failed to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. The same thing should apply here in the case of Senzomenyo, because the state witnesses, they contradict each other when it comes to the gun evidence. Remember that the people in the house said the gun that shot Senzomenyo had a will, but Mangena says the gun is a 9mm. A gun that has a wheel is not a 9mm, it is a revolver. So the state witnesses that were in the house and Mangena don't agree on the gun. That on its own create reasonable doubt that these people were not there. If the court is in doubt, then the court has to acquit. So these 5 men before court should be freed. But based on what I've seen, this judge will not do so because he's biased. He will find them guilty anyway. But my hope is that when they take the case to appeal at the Supreme Court of Appeal, that is where we'll have 5 judges to relook at this case. And then I'm sure that they will find that there was indeed reasonable doubt. The state failed to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt because they do not, the state witnesses disagree on the gun that killed Senzo Meyiwa. Secondly, the DNA evidence says all 5 men were not in the house. Remember that the DNA expert came to court and said the sample taken from the house exclude all 5 men from being in the house. So if the DNA expert says these guys were not in the house, that creates reasonable doubt. And if there's reasonable doubt, the court should always acquit, because it is better to send an innocent man back home or set him free rather than sending an innocent man to prison. Or should I say, it is better to let a guilty man go free than sending an innocent man to prison. So whenever you're in doubt, you must acquit. But hopefully, the Supreme Court of Appeal will look at this case and see that Judge Fakazile Racha was wrong. Danko.